enjoy Buffalo very much. The weather's a little cold, but I really like Buffalo. I love the organization.
Okay, that's
I spent many winters up at Rich Stadium when it was Rich
Let's
Stadium.
get back to the NBA, Joe.
Back to the NBA now. Paul George is having an incredible season for the Thunder, most recently dropping back-to-back 40-point games against the Rockets and the Blazers. His success has boosted the conversation around his MVP chances, and his team. Paul George is his front-runner for MVP. Nick, is Russ right?
Well, Russ is right that he's his front runner. He's supposed to be his front runner. He's his teammate. But no, he's not the front runner. But he has made what... Listen, this was a one-man... that he thinks Paul George is above Harden but right behind Giannis. I think what I do think is going to happen is as people get tired of talking about Harden's streak, which got extended last night, but people don't care anymore. Like, it's old news at this point. Just like Russell Westbrook won an MVP for averaging a triple-double. He's now done it back-to-back years since then. Nobody cares anymore. People are going to start to focus more, and maybe rightfully so, on the two-way part of this discussion. People are going to focus on the team wins and the defensive numbers. And those elevate Paul George. Now, they also elevate Giannis, but they elevate Paul George and they put Harden in a clear third. Now, I don't think Harden is third. I think Giannis and Harden are the top two. But Paul George, career high in points, career high in rebounds, career high in assists per game, career high in three-point percentage. He is having his career year. And the team is winning at a very high level, and none of those mention his defensive impact, which is elite. So, yeah, if it's a three-man race, he's there, but he's not the leader at the moment.
So let me ask you this. What if the Thunder finished with the best record in the West? Then would you consider Paul George a little more?
Well, the thing about it is that Nick talked about this race, the three-horse race that we have. If that was to happen, that means these last 26 games, they would be playing amazing basketball. So there's enough games left in the schedule, a third of the season, that yes, Paul George could overtake him, but those defensive things will have to be baked in there. And I think Nick makes a great point because we've seen this happen before. One guy's having an outstanding season. By the time we get to when it's the really MVP, you get tired of having the conversation. So there becomes some type of fatigue over that person who happens to be the front runner. But when you look at OKC, what they're doing, 37 wins at the All-Star break, that's outstanding. So we also have to give him credit for helping OKC be one of the top teams. If they were the number one seed in the West, he continues since January 19th, averaging 36 a game, 49% from the field. Like, those are amazing numbers. And what he's doing on the defensive end, first in steals, second in deflections, and the way he plays, like, I believe he's going to be right there in the conversation. But if they were to finish ahead of Golden State, number one in the West, Paul George would be, the dark horse. He would win the MVP.
If they get all the way to the one seed, I think he could get all the way to the one spot in the MVP. I also think he's got a real shot at Defensive Player of the Year this year. You've talked about it, how given LeBron's time missed, he is staring at first-team All-NBA as a forward, something that there's only been one spot open for the last decade plus because of LeBron. It looked like he and Giannis. But I just want to remind the audience a bit on the arc of Paul George's career, because I'm glad we finally got to a place that it looked like we were destined to get to. Back in 2014, Miami Heat are defending champs, and they're playing for the second straight year the Indiana Pacers in the conference finals. Game 5, elimination game for the Pacers. Paul George goes eye-to-eye with LeBron James, throws up a 36, 6, 2, and 6. He had just turned 24 years old. And that was the game where LeBron dapped him up at midcourt after a end-of-quarter shot. Now, they ended up losing the next game. The Heat go on to the NBA Finals. We thought, okay, Paul George is the next superstar. A few weeks later, he shattered his leg. And then we thought, okay, what will it do to his career? And now he's gotten to the place it looked like he was going to get to at 25. Now he's gotten to the place it looked like he was going to get to in 2015 when he missed that full year. I'm so happy for him. And he has been so validated in his decision to stay. And Russ has been so validated in his putting his arms around him and taking a back seat that he deserves to be in this level of discussion. Giannis and Harden, just to me, are still having better years.
And that's the reason why Russ should be saying things like that about Paul George.
Right.
And you make a good point. If they were able to get, because that question hadn't been posed to me. Man, I haven't heard anyone talk about that. Well, what if OKC finishes number one? Then he would have to be in that consideration. And right now, as I stated a couple days ago, he's the best two-way player in basketball. He's going to be first-team All-NBA. LeBron's not going to make it. All right, he's getting ready to take that spot. Not because LeBron's having a bad year, it's because he's having a spectacular year. Not Clay, not Kawhi, all right? Paul George.
Not KD.
No, absolutely not KD.
We went through a stretch this season where we weren't talking about the Thunder. We were talking about everyone else except for the Thunder, and slowly they've crept up to become a very competitive team. How far do you think this team can go with Russ and PG playing the way they're playing? Obviously, Paul George.
Listen, I shouldn't say obviously. I believe that they, like every team in the West, their ceiling is when you meet Golden State in the playoffs, but that means the conference finals. Like right now, they're 3.5 back of the 1 seed. They're, I think, a game and a half back of Denver. Whether they catch Denver or not, could they beat Denver in the second round? Of course they could. Like, you know what I mean? Could they put a scare into Golden State? Potentially, yes. Now, I don't think anybody's beaten Golden State. But let's just, if you're asking me, if they were to make the finals, could they beat whoever comes out of the East? Yes, they could. I just think Golden State's too tough.
Jen, I need you to look into your crystal ball and tell me, how's Russ going to play? Because Paul George is the best player they have on the team. Russ knows that. How is Russ going to play, and how does he shoot the ball and shoot the ball behind the arc? Because if he shoots a decent percentage, man, they can beat everyone except the Warriors.
And if the consolation for this year is a top 3 MVP finish, defensive player of the year, and first team All-NBA, that is the top of the resume line individual season for 98% of the guys.
Off of the season where I decided not to be a free agent and stay in OKC.
Absolutely right.
I have so many questions for the crystal ball, but I'll get yours in there at some point. Like hours and hours.
Sure, sounds great.
Coming up, are the Lakers making the right call, sticking with Luke Walton? That's ahead on First Things First.